Sing to me, sing to me.
Hey love bugs, it's me back with another video. In this video, oh, excuse me. In this video, I just wanted to do, I guess, a little bit of a not a little bit. I wanted to do a labor and delivery video. And let me remind you guys, this video is almost 3 years old because my daughter will be 3 in November. But I just wanted to do this video. I figured like it was like a good video to do to explain to you guys how my labor went, so you guys kind of know what I'm expecting for this go around. Please excuse me, I look rough. I had an appointment, OB appointment to check up on baby boy this earlier today, and so I got all these vitamins. They gave me all these like prenatal vitamin samples. Like, it's just crazy. Like, it's just so many of them. They gave them to me to try them out. And so I think I started these one a day prenatal. Well, yeah, that's the first one I took today. These joints are huge, by the way. They're like biggish. Anywho. Okay, so nonetheless, let's get started. So where do I begin? I delivered Harley on November 19th, so I guess our story goes back to November 17th. Yeah, November 17th, yeah. So I went in, and y'all gotta excuse the background noise. I'm being real fat because, like, I haven't eaten anything, and so I'm hungry, and so I just stopped at Chick-fil-A. So don't mind me being fat. But anywho, so I went to my OBGYN originally on the 17th. I went for like my regular checkup. I don't know what, I was 37 weeks at the time, so I guess it was like my 37-week checkup. And I had gone to the OB to just have like the regular checkup, make sure that Harley was turned the right way, make sure she was head down, and to see if, you know, that's around the time that they start to see if you've dilated any, or if you're yeah, pretty much if you've dilated any. Sorry, y'all, I can't find my straw to my drink. Okay, I have to go downstairs to get a straw. But anyway, that's around the time that they see if you've dilated any, as well as, oh my gosh, I'm turning the light on, it's like so dark. There we go. To see if I had started to dilate. I just said that like 30 times, and I'm gonna say it again. To see if I've dilated, or if you know, to just check for whatever stuff they normally check for. It's been a while, so I don't remember all the terminology for what they were checking for. But I went in for that appointment. You know, we got that was our last sonogram to see. It wouldn't have been, but it was the last sonogram to see her, to see how she was, make sure she was facing the proper direction, to make sure, you know, that her heartbeat and everything was still doing good at a steady pace, and just, you know, checking before I came back 2 weeks from then to do my next appointment. Or was it at 1 week appointments at this point? No, I think it was still 2 weeks. Sorry, I'm so out of breath. So we went to the appointment. It was me, Vaughn, his mom, and his dad. Yeah, so all 4 of us were at the appointment. Like I told you, I think in my last video, I was at this point pretty much living with him and his mother. So, yeah, I was there. So she was pretty much everywhere with us. The same way she is now. Every appointment, she's always there. So we went to the doctor. We went to the appointment. Everything was going well. And at this point, like I said, I wasn't dilated or anything. Hadn't been dilated the last time. I didn't dilate at any point when they checked me this time. And so they were doing the sonogram and everything, and they were, you know, doing that's what they do. They measure the baby from the outside to make sure, like, I guess, I don't want to say circumference, but to make sure that the baby is growing properly and everything like that. And they did the sonogram and everything, and they were like, okay, you know, the nurse was kind of like, okay, well, you know, you guys can just wait here, we'll be right back. And so we were all waiting, and this is the first time, like, I had ever had to, like, not wait in the sense of waiting for the doctor to come, because you always gotta wait for a doctor to come, but like this is the first time like I had had an appointment, done a sonogram or anything like that, and actually like they left the room and had me waiting for a good minute. And so they had us waiting, and we were kind of all sitting there like what are we waiting for? Like normally they would have been like, okay, everything's good, like here's your copy of your sonograms, go about your life, we'll see you next week, we'll see you in 2 weeks, whatever the time frame was. And the nurse had came back in, or the midwife had came back in, and she was like, you know, we're not sure if baby girl is growing, like we're seeing like her head is looking a little abnormal in size compared to like your uterus, but everything's okay, she's doing okay, just give me 1 second, I'll be right back. So she left on that note, and we're all sitting here like who says that, and then just leaves. Be like, okay, if my baby's head is abnormal, like where did this come from? Like her head just grew over the last week that I was here? Like what do you mean it's abnormal in size? So of course now at this point we're all kind of sitting here kind of like worried, freaking out, like what the hell is going on? So the nurse finally came back, and she was like, so it's looking like baby's head isn't growing anymore, or something like that, saying like pretty much like Harley wasn't growing anymore. She was like, but her heartbeat is fine, you know, she doesn't seem to be in any distress, but we want you to go see a specialist tomorrow. I mean, not tomorrow, we want you to go see a specialist as soon as possible. So that of course got us all like red flags, like real concerned, like what the hell is going on? What do you mean? Like if she's fine, what do I need to go see a specialist for if everything looks good? Like she's a little cramped up. Like all babies are cramped up at the time they're about to be delivered. So they were like, you know, we want you to see a little special. So of course my heart's racing, everybody's heart's racing. We're kind of like, okay, well that's not really something you want to be, you know, hear. Let me remind you guys, I'm 37 weeks. This is November 17th. Probably it's not supposed to be due till December 5th, 6th, like 5th or 6th. So okay, so I'm like, all right. So they're like, you know, here's the number to the lady, you know, to the clinic, to the people, you know, give them a call, try to get an appointment with them as soon as possible. And so we, as we're walking out the doctor's office, sorry y'all, as we're walking out the doctor's office, you know, Vaughn's mom is like, you know, call them now, see if you can get an appointment tomorrow. So I'm calling, you know, I'm like, you know, I got a request, referral, sorry, I got a referral from my OBGYN that I need to get, you know, have an appointment as soon as possible. And they're like, okay, well, we have some appointments available tomorrow. I'm sitting like looking at Vaughn's, I'm like, well, they have appointments tomorrow. She's like, okay, great, take it. Like, you know, we need to get in there as soon as possible, figure out what's going on. So I take the appointment. Of course, I go home. I'm like freaking out, trying to, you know, stay in positive energy. All of us, of course, are trying to stay in positive energy, like, you know, everything's gonna be fine. But in the back of my head, I'm like, well, what the hell am I gonna do if they tell me that she's gotta come tomorrow? Like, if I have to, they're gonna rush me to the hospital. Like, I have to deliver tomorrow. So of course we're kind of all trying to be like, no, like, yeah, it's not really nothing serious. They're just gonna tell you that she's fine, and you know, she'll whatever is whatever. So me, you know, like my nesting starts kicking in full throttle. Like I had already had all her clothes and stuff washed, but I started like folding clothes. Like I was just doing all types of like random stuff. Like it didn't even make sense. It was just random stuff. And I remember specifically me and Vaughn, like I did not get no sleep that night at all. I know Vaughn, like we did not get no sleep that night at all because we were trying to figure, you know, nervous. Like you're anxious. Somebody tells you that your child ain't, her head ain't growing properly, or she looks crunched up and, you know, in my stomach, like, but we want you to see, especially, like, that's nerve wracking. And so, long story short, we go to the people the next morning. They check the stomach. They explained to us, they were like, yeah, her head's not able to grow anymore, or she's not able to grow anymore in my stomach. You need to go to the hospital now. I'm like, okay, like, of course at this point we're freaking out even more because we were told that everything was fine, that this was just a checkup just for them to measure her head, not that I'm going into labor, you know, like I have to go get delivered today. So after that I had to go all the way. This doctor, I don't even remember where this doctor was, but my mother was in Forestville. I was staying in Carlton. My hospital bag was still at my mother's house, so I had to go all the way to Forestville to pick up my hospital bag. And, you know, we were like, the doctor was like, you know, just make your way to the hospital and get signed in and everything, and the doctor will be there shortly. So Von's mom was like, well, you know, we got time. Let's go eat and, you know, grab your hospital bag, and then we'll head to the hospital. So we sit down to go to eat, and my OBGYN calls me. They're like, hey, are you at the hospital? I'm like, no, the specialist people told me, you know, I had some time to go grab my hospital bag and everything and then make my way to the hospital. They were like, oh, well, you need to get to the hospital as soon as possible. Like, we don't want the placenta to give out on the baby. You know, you need to get there. And I'm sitting here like, what the hell? So, y'all, like, I literally was like losing my mind. Like, the special people just told me, you got some time. Like, it's not really, not that it was, they weren't saying it wasn't a big deal, but like, you know, get there, but it ain't like a rush. Like, you still gotta wait for the doctor to get there and everything. Then my OB called me, told me that the doctor already did. Like, I need to get there before my placenta give out on my baby, and then like, everything goes, you know, like, ways up. And so, now we leaving the food place, rushing to my mother's house to get the bag, my hospital bag, then going to the hospital. And I delivered Harley at PG hospital, and we get there, they induced me. Let me tell y'all, like, I had this whole birth plan thing planned out. Like, I wanted to walk around, I didn't want no epidural, I wanted to deliver naturally. You know, I wanted to be able to bounce on one of those little bouncy balls or whatever, like, be able to kind of try to, like, walk through my labor. And, of course, you know, that wasn't an option. Like, when you get induced, you aren't able to, like, your kind of birth plan goes all out the window. Especially when it's, like, something that kind of comes out the woodwork like this. So, I got checked in finally and everything when we finally made it to the hospital. And the nurse was in the room and she was telling me, she was kind of like, you know, are there any things you want the doctor? She was asking me, were there any things that I wanted the doctor to know? And I was like, oh yeah, well, I want to walk around. You know, I didn't really want an epidural. I want to try to do this naturally. I want to do X, Y, and Z. And she was like, oh, well, you can't do any of the walking around because we're going to induce you, you can't get up. Like when you're induced, you have to stay in the bed. Like, you're not able to get up and, like, actually functionally move around or do anything. So they, like, I couldn't even get up to go to the bathroom. Like, I had to have a catheter. Like, when you're induced, like, all that shit goes out the window. Like, any plans you had of trying to be mobile, trying to move around, like, all that goes out the window. So I was like, oh, okay. Well then, crazy, right? Okay, so I'm like, oh damn, like, that kind of threw me for a whole loop. So I'm sitting in there. Then my doctors then came in, broke my water. That shit hurts. For anybody that, like, I've never experienced natural water breaking, but having your water broken, that hurts. Like, it's not comfortable. It's not fun. It's not like getting faint. Like, she literally stuck her hand all the way up my vagina, and I felt her hook pop, and it just felt like I was peeing on myself for a really long time. Like, I know I wasn't because I had a catheter in, but it felt like I was peeing on myself. So anyway, so she broke my water. They gave me the Pitocin, started pumping my doses of Pitocin. And then Pitocin is the drug. It is supposed to help your contractions. It's supposed to speed up your contractions so that they come faster and harder. Like, it's not just, oh, they come faster and they're kind of whatever. Like, they increase the pain of your contractions and the frequency of your contractions, so that your contractions. So they come more frequently and they're more painful. Of course, contractions are more painful as they come closer to delivery. So, yeah, so at first I wasn't really feeling nothing. I was, you know, still in my whole, I ain't doing no epidural thing. And let me see, we started labor at 2. So they broke my water and stuff. I had gone into labor. You know, they waited for me to dilate and stuff like that. They were still kicking up the Pitocin. And, you know, they kept asking me, do you want epidural? Do you want epidural? I was like, no, I'm okay. You know, I wasn't really feeling the pain too much. Like, I could see it on the monitor, but I wasn't really feeling no pain. And I was like, okay, this is easy. Like, what do people be even complaining about? Like, this is simple. Nah, probably about a good 10-15 minutes, because they came back in. They were like, all right, she's not dilating enough. Pump up the Pitocin some more. That shit went from like 0 to 8,000 real quick, and I was crying my ass off. Like, it was really bad. It was so unbearable. Like, I was holding on to the hospital chair. Like, my mother kept trying to touch me. I was like, son, like, get off me. Like, don't touch me. Like, let me, like, this chair, this bed rail is my best friend right now. Like, don't touch me. Like, everybody just leave me be. So finally I caved in. Vaughn's mom was like, look, you just need to take this epidural. You're killing yourself. And so I caved, and she went and gave them the go ahead for the epidural, and they gave me the epidural. And y'all, when I say everything after that is kind of like a big old blur. Like, when I say I was high as a kite, that was the best sleep I had gotten in a long time. I mean, like, in a very long time. Especially with the night before, me not sleeping at all because being worried about, having to go into labor, sleep, that was a long time. I mean, the best sleep I had in a long time, and I was high out my mind. And so, probably around the time that Harley was getting ready to come, I was in labor for a full 10 hours, give or take, probably 30 minutes, so maybe 10 and a half hours. But when I felt Harley coming, I felt like I had woken up, I had a fever and everything from them breaking my water, so I was hot as hell. I'm hungry, I'm thirsty. You can't drink nothing, eat nothing when you're going into labor, because in the event that they got to do a C-section, they can't, be trying to scrummage through your food while trying to get the baby out, cutting your stomach open. So I couldn't drink nothing, I couldn't eat nothing, it was so terrible. But when I finally got to the point where I was like, oh gosh, I feel like I have to shit. I have to go to the bathroom. I have to poop really, really badly. And his mom, let me mind you, I'm still high. It was still a blur. But I could kind of, I was coming to, and I was I really have to use the bathroom really, really badly. And his mom was kind of okay, well, let me go find the nurse, see what's what, and see if you can go to the bathroom. Let me mind you, like I told you before, when you're induced, you're not allowed to get up from the floor. Get up off the bed. And on top of that, I had an epidural, so my legs were rock solid. I couldn't walk even if I wanted to. So she went and found the nurse, and the nurse was like, oh yeah, she can poop. Here's a bedpan. As soon as his mom was putting the bedpan under my butt, the doctor walked in and was like, no, she don't gotta poop. That's the baby coming. I'm sitting here so this nurse was about to let me deliver my child inside of a bedpan because she don't know the difference between when you feel like you gotta poop, that means you about to deliver. So that, of course, pissed me off. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So the doctor came, and I was like, well, I really gotta poop. I'm still feeling the urge to poop. Now he's like, no, that's the baby coming. That's the baby coming. And I'm like, oh, okay. So he's like, let's get set up. It's time to push. So, of course, by the time they get ready, I'm like, she's still coming. By the time they get everything set up at the bottom of my legs and everything, they were like, all right, you ready to push? Push. I'm like, I can't. She had sucked up back, inside of me. She hadn't come out, but she was she wasn't at the canal anymore. She had kind of went back up. So I had to wait for her to swivel her way back down to the canal for me to be able to push. And so me, I think I was just being dramatic. I screamed. How they do in the movies, I screamed. And the nurse lady was like, she's like, listen to me. This is the one that told me I couldn't walk around or whatever. She's like, no. She's like, if you screaming, you ain't pushing. She's like, you can't scream and push at the same time. I said, oh, okay. So I waited for her to come back. It was probably 5 minutes had passed. Not even 5 minutes, probably 2 or 3 minutes had passed since I was ready to go. And I did 1 push, 2 push, and her little so just popped right out. And I didn't feel her pop out. Delivery is easy. Pushing the kid out is the simplest part of delivery. It's the damn contractions that hurt. The delivery part was real simple. She just right out. It was sweet and simple. Not a problem. And so I'm sitting here okay, so she's out, I guess they're doing whatever they're doing down there. She didn't tear me at all. She was only 5 pounds, 12.6 ounces. So she slid right out. I didn't tear. She didn't rip. They were cleaning me out, cleaning me off. And I didn't hear her crying. And so, of course, his mom, they're over there the doctors, of course, are over there kind of putting her in the incubator and stuff like that, trying to get her warm or whatever. And his mom and stuff, they're all standing over there. And I'm just sitting here in the bed laying like this, I don't hear her. Ain't nobody saying nothing. I don't hear no stat hey, I don't hear a million and one people rushing into the room. So that's good. But on the same side, I'm I don't hear her crying. Like, I don't hear whining. Like, I don't hear anything. Like, somebody tell me what's going on with my child. And so finally, like, I came to enough, like, call my person and be like, so, what's going on? Like, is she okay? Like, nobody's saying nothing. I can't hear nothing. She ain't saying, making no noises, no nothing. And so finally, they were like, yeah, she's fine. And da-da-da. And they came and put her on my chest. And it was, when I say y'all, it was like the most beautiful moment ever. It really was. To be able to hold her and to finally be able to hold her was just so amazing. And I'm super excited to do it all over again. I mean, not all over again, but I'm super excited to, like, you know, go through the growth and development with baby boy and then be able to finally hold him and see what he looks like. Because you can see through sonograms, but you don't really know what the baby looks like until you actually give birth. And so it was a really beautiful moment, and she came out perfect. She's still perfect. Came out with her little face. She was real dry and crusty. I ain't even gonna lie to y'all. She was dry and flaky. But she came out just as precious as she wanted to be. I did breastfeed, and I'll actually do a breastfeeding video for you all. But I did breastfeed, and honestly, after that, you know, they wrapped her up, they cleaned her off. After that, the only thing I was really concerned about was getting some food, because I hadn't eaten all day since the day, shoot, it was probably going into day 2. I hadn't eaten for 2 days. But she was born at 12:59 a.m. on the dot, so she had just missed 1 o'clock. So I definitely had just been in labor for 10 hours and some change. And it was beautiful, y'all. Like, even though I had to go through all the hassle, even though I wasn't expecting her to be there early, 3 weeks early at that, especially when they were like, oh, she probably not gonna come on time, because I hadn't been dilating at all. It was a really beautiful moment. And I've heard some tragic, or not even necessarily tragic, but terrifying birth stories. And I'm blessed, and was definitely blessed at the time to be able to not have to go through, you know, some things that some women do go through with near death, or, you know, their whole uterus falling out. Like, it gets extreme when you're on that table. Like, you literally come close to death. And to be able to birth, you know, something so beautiful, something so innocent from that is amazing. But to almost die is scary as hell. And so I didn't experience that. And, you know, I pray I don't experience it this go around. But it was nothing more than a blessing. And so, that's it, guys. Like I said, I'll come back with more videos. You guys gotta forgive me for being so late and everything else. I'm still trying to get a lot of stuff situated. But that's it for my labor and delivery story with Harley. Of course, I'll do one when baby boy gets here. And I will do a breastfeeding video on how I breastfed, which was a challenge in itself. But how I breastfed, and then everything else. But other than that, I will talk to you love bugs later. I'll see you guys in my next video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Sing to me, not me sing to